Hello, good morning or good afternoon, good evening, and I'm not ready. So let's go back to commercial. Hold on. Oh.
Ready to make your real estate dreams a reality? Meet Lisa R., your trusted expert in Livingston County. With 25 years in the real estate marketplace, she offers a seamless, stress-free experience. As a Real Estate One agent, Lisa has access to a network of over 2,000 agents and a one-stop shop for mortgage, title, and insurance services. Call Lisa R. at 734-260-7277 or visit her at Real Estate One in Brighton. Let her help you find your dream home or sell your property with confidence.
Hello, and now we're ready, and now we're live. Sorry about that. I'm Deb Drick. I am the chair of the Livingston County Republican Party. Welcome to the right side. And tonight, my special guest is a former chair of the well-known, well-respected chair of the Livingston County Republican Party, Meghan Reckling. Welcome, Meghan. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for coming on. We have a packed show, so we're gonna skip over the small talk and get right into it. So first, I want to say over here, if we do not recognize your comment, please exit and sign in through a different method, such as YouTube. We've been running into trouble. We don't know why, but there have been some issues with people commenting and we never see it. So if I'm not, I recognize every single comment up there. So if I haven't recognized it, it's because I'm not seeing it. So please look it up and exit and come back in through one of the other mediums. I've got my text right here. So if you have an issue, text me. But I will post this periodically. So Meghan is going to be here, and we're going to jump right into the ranked choice voting, which she understands and many of the rest of us do not. So we're hearing that it is a horrible idea. Other states are rejecting it. So Meghan, please tell us why this is a terrible idea.
Well, can we take a step back first?
As many as you want. Go ahead.
So, I mean, this is not the first time that the progressive movement has targeted Michigan for ballot referendums that fundamentally change how our elections work in Michigan. Michigan is one of really 7 targeted states that, starting over a decade ago, organizations came in. They started to create a grassroots network of people across our state, and they started to put different ballot initiatives on the ballot for Michigan voters to consider that have really drastically changed how our election system works in Michigan. And so that really started over a decade ago with first the passage of the Independent Redistricting Commission. Then we had the passage of Proposal 3 in 2018. Then we had the passage of Proposal 2 in 2020. And now they're back again. And they're now back with ranked choice voting, which again would fundamentally transform how Michigan elections are done. And it's all done for one purpose. It doesn't matter what the left tells you the positives of ranked choice voting are. At the end of the day, the people who fund and support the ranked choice voting ballot initiatives, their entire goal is to destroy the two-party systems. They don't really like Republicans or Democrats. And it's kind of just to dysfunction the entire process by which we elect our representatives. And so they have targeted, and when I say they, it's not grassroots people here in Michigan. It's really not even organizations that are from Michigan. It is progressive national donors and organizations that want to continue to undermine the integrity of our elections that are coming into our state. They really started to lay the groundwork on ranked choice voting about a year ago, partnering with organizations like the League of Conservations, the League of Women Voters.
Oh, yes,
They're working
yes.
really hard
Yes,
with the
they are.
League of Women Voters, trying to build their own grassroots network of volunteer circulators. And I guess, where do you want to start? Do you want to start with what ranked choice voting is? Because I think there's a lot of people that don't even understand
That's a good place to start.
what ranked choice voting is.
Sure.
So there's different options, and we're really not going to be sure until the group submits their ballot language to the State Board of Canvassers what they're going to do here in Michigan, because they can do ranked choice voting in the primaries. They can do ranked choice voting just in the general. Word on the street, and if you listen to what they're telling some of their supporters, as of right now, their plan is to not change how we do our primaries in Michigan, and we would just do ranked choice voting on the general election ballot in November.
Okay.
However, that doesn't mean that's going to be what they decide to go ahead and propose. Nobody that I know has actually seen the draft of the language yet.
Okay.
And so we won't know exactly how the proposal is going to look until they submit that to the State Board of Canvassers, which, I've got to be honest, I myself, along with others who have really been paying attention to this, are really surprised that they have not submitted to the State Board of Canvassers yet, because the State Board of Canvassers only meets once a month. Their May meeting is coming up this Friday, which means because they did not support, or they did not submit their proposed language in time for this month's meeting, they can't even be considered until the June meeting mid next month. Which means they wouldn't be able to start circulating petitions until the end of June, beginning of July. And then they would have 180 days from there if they start on day one. So when you're talking a constitutional amendment, on average for the 180 days that you have, you're talking about needing basically 3,500 signatures per day, whether that be through paid collection efforts, volunteer collection efforts.
Right.
3,500 signatures a day is a significant, that's 25,000 signatures a week. That's a substantial number. So if on day one you meet that goal, that's your 180-day mark. That takes them to almost Christmas. And everyone who works in Michigan politics knows that if you're going to start circulating,
you're not done by October. You're done.
Correct.
That's right.
If you have, our weather patterns have shifted somewhat. December's, my husband has gone out golfing in December the last couple of years. But if you're really in the field needing 3,500, and usually it's on a curve, right? So when you start a ballot initiative, your first week or two, you're not collecting that much. And then as you get to the end, you're trying to collect more than the days that are dropping off at the beginning.
Right.
And so you're really collecting for 120, 130 days, but that puts them well into January where they're collecting. And that starts to become a pretty significant struggle when you get into January, winter in Michigan, trying to collect more than you did in June or July.
Well, on top of that, it's not just the cold weather. The cold weather is enough for me. There's no way I'm going out there. The other problem is by November, it gets dark at 5 o'clock. So
absolutely
you don't have you don't have the daylight hours after work to go out and peddle this stuff, even if it is, reasonable weather. It's dark, and that's going to deter it too. So
correct. So that's first. So what ranked choice voting really is it's a different method of electing your representatives or your state senators or your county commission candidates. And what happens is there's no longer a choice where you vote for the candidate you want to win. So when you get your ballot, it would no longer be, here's the race for state representative with your 3 candidates listed, the Republicans identified and the Democrats identified, and you circle in the bubble for the candidate you want to vote for. That's how we vote today.
Right.
Out of all the candidates running, either the 2 major parties or, independents or off-label party is what I'm going to call them, candidates, all run for the same race. You vote for the one person in that race that you want to win. Ranked choice voting fundamentally changes that method of voting. Imagine your ballot now looking like the Scantron sheets that you had in high school. So what you would essentially do is you would look at the 5 candidates running for state senator, and you would, in column 1, vote for your first choice candidate. So the person I want to win, if I have to cast my first vote, would be candidate B. And then you would move to the second column and you would say, okay, if my candidate, my first choice candidate, doesn't get elected, who would I vote for second? And then you would cast your vote for your second place candidate. And then you would move to the third column and you would cast your vote for the third place candidate, fourth place, fifth place, so on, until you have basically cast your vote for as many people are running for that office. If there's 7 candidates, you're going to rank them 1 to 7 who you would vote for. And essentially, the way our elections work today is you vote for the candidate who you want to win, and the candidate who gets the most votes wins the election. It doesn't mean they have a majority of votes in the race. We do not have a 50% plus 1 threshold. It is the candidate who receives the most votes out of the ballots cast for that race wins. Under a ranked choice voting style of voting, candidates must get 50% plus 1. You must.
So it's like convention.
It's like convention. So you must have candidates get 50% plus 1. But what happens is you're not voting live. So it's not like convention where we would vote for who we want to win, and then the last person drops out and you re-vote. You cast all your votes at one time. So basically what happens is as the ballots are being calculated, if no candidate, let's say there's 5 candidates in the race, nobody gets 50% plus 1. Essentially what happens is the tabulator at that point will drop the candidate with the lowest amount of votes. Then
the same numbers recalculate.
Then what happens is all the people who voted for that person to be their number 1, they move to the second column. So if candidate C is the candidate who did not receive, they received the least amount of votes. Now what's going to happen is the tabulator is going to go to candidate C, and they're now going to look at the ballots for each one of those votes and see who was voted in the second column. And then the votes from candidate C now get allocated out to whoever the second vote was. And then at that point, if a candidate still has not reached 50% plus 1,
rinse and repeat with the next one.
Repeat.
Oh my God.
And so then the last candidate would again drop out. Then they go to the third column and say, okay, out of the candidate that just dropped, who was the third vote of everybody voted? And then they reallocate those votes. So basically what happens is a number of things. First and foremost, and most importantly, you can no longer hand recount ranked choice voting elections. It becomes literally impossible.
Yeah. How could
you
do that?
have to do recounts using a tabulator because you're eliminating candidates and you are reallocating votes. Secondly, a lot of times when you have ranked choice voting, if you have voted improperly, which means you did not rank 1 through 7, you only wanted to vote for one person, your ballot will be discarded. So in traditional ranked choice voting states, there are a significant percentage of ballots that are traditionally discarded and not even ran through the process because those individuals did not vote properly. So it disenfranchises thousands of people. We're talking on a statewide level in Michigan, it would be thousands of voters who did not follow the directions, where their ballots won't even be counted. They just get literally discarded. So in reality, what's happening is ranked choice voting disenfranchises. It no longer is a one person, one vote. It's one person, multiple votes. And it usually is used to try to, the other side is going to use this anti-two-party system. We don't like Republicans. We don't like Democrats. They're going to try to glom on to that more independent person. Don't you want to not have to support a Republican or a Democrat? But in reality, what happens is because candidates themselves are now trying to come up with the 50%, what traditionally happens in these races is the candidates start to run to the complete opposite end. Republicans run to be more conservative, Democrats run to be more liberal, and everybody else is left in the middle. And those people are the ones first out of the ballot. And what ranked choice voting usually ends up happening is it creates more of a partisan divide where candidates more on the fringe of each party get elected. That's not always true. We've seen what's happened in
Sure.
Alaska, right?
Sure,
Look at
sure.
Senator Murkowski there. That's how Alaska has ended up with, a senator who's not exactly conservative and Republican.
So they're not even marked as Republican or Democrat, or they are?
So they are, but what it is especially if progressives, especially those who are trying to undermine states like Michigan, where they want to undermine Republicans, you got to remember, Michigan is a purple state. We are not a blue state.
Oh, yes.
We are not a red
understand.
state. But we're a purple state because of how Michigan voters are geographically segregated. When you look at the state as a whole, we talked a lot about this. You hear me talk a lot about this when it comes to redistricting issues. Democrats tend to live in highly populated areas, AKA city. I mean, look right here in Livingston County. The city of Howell and the city of Brighton tend to vote, more center than where I live out in Handy Township, which is going to be well on the right, or up in Heartland where they're going to be well on the right. And that's how our state looks. So when you look at Southeast Michigan, when you look at the city of Grand Rapids, when you get into the cities of Saginaw,
Flint, Pontiac, Detroit,
those cities are really tightly packed with Democrats that live in the city. But when you get out into rural Michigan, that's why when you look at a map of Michigan, it looks really red, except the pockets of dark blue. But we are a purple state because of the number of people who live in those cities, not necessarily based on geography, but based on the number of people that live there. So when you're talking about ranked choice voting in a primary, what tends to happen is everybody, Republicans and Democrats, all run on the same ballot. So you are now ranking Republicans and Democrats. And so this happens in other states that have adopted ranked choice voting. You're no longer voting between a Republican, a Democrat, the independent, the Green Party candidate in November. You're voting for the top two candidates that got elected in August.
Is there a limit to how many can be in that primary?
Nope.
So you could have 10 people and 9 of them could be Republicans.
Correct. And
how do you get on that ballot?
On the November ballot or the August ballot?
Well, let's start with the August.
So, I mean, usually in those states, ballot access hasn't changed to access the ballot. So here in Michigan, if you're running for state representative or state senator, you file your $100.
Sure.
You're running for Congress, you're going to file your, 1,000 signatures. Right. You're going to file your petitions. But what it means is, let's say in a state or in a seat like Tom Barrett's seat.
Right.
Or in a seat like, let's move into one like Haley Stevens, where right now we field the candidate. It's unlikely that they're going to win the general. Okay. But essentially what would happen is in a primary in a seat like that, where you're going to have 5 Democrats running and 1 Republican in the primary, there's no way that 1 Republican is going to be in the top 2 vote getters, which means when you move on to November, Republicans don't even have a choice. They don't even have a Republican in the race to cast a ballot for. Okay. You're literally voting for the top 2 people who moved on from ranked choice voting in August, which could be 2 Democrats. In Livingston County, Democrats may not even have a choice of a candidate because Republicans could take the top 2 spots in every race. Sure. And now it could be 2 Republicans running against each other in November. So there is no guarantee when you're talking about on a local level where you have big swings between the partisan divide. It really disenfranchises voters on both sides.
Sure.
Where you no longer have a choice once you come to November on which party or which candidate to voting for. You could be just mixed up in your local political scheme, or you're either only choosing between Democrats or you're choosing between Republicans.
So, all right. So let me just get my head wrapped around this. So we got a primary, and just like now, anybody that files is on the primary.
Correct.
How do you get it narrowed down? What's the primary do? If you don't, you're not locking out. How does the general look? It's not 1 and 1 anymore.
Correct.
So there's like a maximum?
Yes, look at it kind of like the way our judicial races are ran right now, the nonpartisan races, where they could have 7 people in a primary and
For 4 seats, we'll say.
correct.
Okay.
Depending on the number of seats and the number of candidates running, X number of candidates make it through the primary onto the general
All right,
election
so
ballot.
if 10 people run for judicial and so they allow 7 for a 4-person situation.
Correct.
Okay, all right. So there is a maximum.
So there is a maximum.
Okay.
And so again, yeah, you would just be weeding out, the lower vote getters. And again, it's got to be 50% plus 1. So for the top winner.
Think about that in a gubernatorial race.
Correct.
Oh my God, my head is going to explode.
Correct.
Oh my God.
Yes.
There'll be like millions of these.
Millions of votes
combinations.
reallocated.
Yeah.
Correct.
And then how easy would that be to manipulate?
Just imagine the election integrity from not
Oh
only
my
just a
God.
candidate's standpoint of trying to keep track of where they're at, but from election integrity standpoint from outside groups, especially when you have people like Jocelyn Benson. Jocelyn Benson would absolutely support ranked choice voting here in Michigan.
Well, sure.
And that's because she has one ultimate really goal at the end. She idolizes a Colorado style of elections in Michigan, where Colorado is very centralized. They have a Secretary of State that runs their elections, that administers almost all of the things that happen in Colorado. Michigan, in my opinion, which is a huge benefit to our state, is very decentralized. The Secretary of State does not administer elections. Yes, they create a lot of rules. They run the State Board of Canvassers, but even our 83 county clerks in Michigan don't administer elections. Elections are administered in Michigan by our townships and city clerks, of which there's over 1,400 of them, which means when Jocelyn Benson wants to make a change to something in elections in Michigan, she can't just wave her magic wand. She has to get 83 county clerks and then 1,400 other clerks to somewhat agree with what she wants to do, to administer the changes that she wants. And she hates that, right? She wants a centralized model. Ideally, I think she knows that it's nearly impossible to centralize all the way up to the Secretary of State's office, but she would love to centralize our elections under the 83 county clerks, where it's a lot easier for her to only deal with 83 people than 1,400 people. I believe that is partly why she has continually kicked our clerks in the face election after election, especially with the passage of the ballot proposals.
Right.
Our local clerks and our county clerks, last election cycle, they did not receive proper training. They did not receive manuals. They did not receive instructions, especially when it came to the implementation of the 9 days of early voting. Why? Because every time our local clerks struggle, people on both the left and the right start to question the ability or the election integrity of our local clerks. And the more that the local people attack their local clerks and think they're incompetent or can't do it, that feeds into Benson's reasons of why they just shouldn't be doing it, and we should consolidate our elections up to the county level.
Oh my God.
And so she has continually set up our local clerks to fail, so that at the end of the day, she could say, well, if they're just not doing their job properly, why don't we assign the county clerks to do it? And ranked choice voting would definitely start to add to that. Now, I think part of what ranked choice voting specifically here in Michigan is running into, it's very unique, right? Like over a year ago, the League of Women Voters partnered with Fair Vote, which is the national organization that, last election cycle in 2024, they spent over $120 million across the country trying to pass ranked choice voting in multiple other states. And it's the first time ever that you saw a progressive ballot initiative go down in flames in state after state after state. Arizona, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Oregon, Nevada, all rejected ranked choice voting. Heck, even Alaska, it was almost overturned in Alaska.
Wow.
So it's really the first time that you started to see, that's been one of my frustration as somebody who has been a vocal opponent of the Independent Redistricting Commission, of the other 2 ballot proposals. When the Independent Redistricting Commission came when that group came into Michigan, they spent over $30 million telling people why we should adopt the Independent Redistricting Commission. There was about $1 million spent in opposition of that campaign. Conservatives for a long time just simply don't like to fight back against ballot referendums. And in Michigan, unfortunately, we have been on the front line of what that looks like with the passage of all of these ballot proposals that have undermined the integrity of our election. And it was really nice to see that for the first time, conservatives across the country, really led by national organizations, found the messaging that worked to push back. Ranked choice voting is so confusing to people. When people really figure out what it means and how it discards tons of ballots, how it eliminates your one vote, one person, one vote option, I think people really start to understand just how confusing it is. And then from an election administration standpoint, our local clerks who are already trying to administer the elections between early voting, when you start to extrapolate back out the timeline, especially from August to November, when you have the August primary, you now have a 45-day constitutional mandate. I mean, our clerks are now mandated by the Constitution to have ballots in the mail no later than 45 days before the election, so they can get overseas to our military personnel and come back.
Right.
So after the August election, when you have the 45-day mandate, then you have to backtrack for ballot programming, but then you also have to add on the canvassing of the August election. Now you want to add on recounting ranked choice voting primaries. I'm pretty sure our clerks are going to have their hair on fire, which is what I think is the biggest problem, because I am genuinely shocked that they have not submitted their proposal to the State Board of Canvassers yet. And I think they are having a significant pushback from elections administrators on both sides of the aisle. I do not think
that makes a lot of sense.
This is a partisan issue. I think Democrat clerks acknowledge that there is a timeline issue. And if you add ranked choice voting on top of the struggles that they're already having related to ballot programming, ballot proofing, and getting those ballots in the mail, especially between August and November, there is no physical way for them to administer a ranked choice voting method in August, especially if there are recounts, and then properly administer the November election.
Wow.
And so I think that's one of their biggest hurdles right now in Michigan is that.
Meghan, what's their sales pitch? I mean, what problem is this supposed to solve? Well, I see it creating more problems that it can possibly solve.
100%, but it's the progressive mindset to continue to destroy both the Democrat and the Republican Party, because that's what they want. They want chaos. They want mayhem. They want a decentralized election system. It's about breaking down the current process. And it's not about making our votes count. It's not about making it easier.
Right.
It's truly about manipulating who is voting and what ballots are being cast. That's their ultimate goal here, so that they can control who ends up winning elections through a ranked choice style voting method. In my opinion, there are no positives. There are no positives.
But they have to be selling a positive. What is their sale? So that's what I'm saying. What are they saying?
Their main sales pitch is they glom on to the independent talking point. Mike Duggan is running as an independent for a reason.
Yes.
It's because
that's a conversation I'd love to have with you on a different thing.
It's because there is a little bit of a tiresome from people on the left who are tired of the far left. There are Republicans who don't want to associate themselves with President Trump or what is, known as the new Republican Party or the far right. So you have people nowadays who just simply don't want to associate with either political party.
Yep.
And so just like the passage of the Independent Redistricting Commission, right? Voters, not politicians. Don't let politicians pick their constituents.
Right.
That resonated with people. They come up with slogans where when you hear them, you say, that's right. I agree with that. It doesn't have to be true. It just has to sound pretty.
Oh, yes. I understand that in a big way.
That's exactly what they've done with every single one of their ballot proposals. They have come up with slogans and voters, not politicians. Well, yeah, most people think I like voters and not politicians. So
Sure.
they're very good with coming up with slogans and taglines.
Have they come up with one for this, or is that it?
So I would argue historically they have until
Okay.
last cycle where they went down in flames across the country.
Oh boy.
I also think that is part of why they are struggling here in Michigan because they do have a lot of the same individuals who worked with Promote Their Vote on the passage of Props 3 and Prop 2 and collecting all of the signatures to put the abortion Prop 3 ballot on the, on our ballots.
Sure.
There's a lot of people who have signed up, but those are what I call the true believers,
Okay.
right? Like they have 2,500 to 3,000 individuals that have signed up to circulate their petition. Those are the true believers that are going to buy the talking point no matter what they say.
Okay.
It's when they go beyond that where I think people are starting to see that their talking points aren't as shiny or as real as they are telling them. But I also think that's because last cycle was the first time there was an actual organized effort to push back against them.
Oh my gosh.
And so I just think, like anything on the left right now, Democrats are really struggling to find their message, to find their footing, to find their direction forward. And here in Michigan, not only are they struggling to find a message that's going to work, but I think they have election administrators who they're running into a headwind with, who realize it's almost nearly impossible to implement a ranked choice style ballot in our state under the current timelines that we have set forward.
Well, I know they're having trouble finding themselves, and the more boys they push into the bathrooms and into girls' sports, I would love somebody to collect data on how many female athletes and their parents have now become Republicans since this mess. Do they not understand what's happening? Oh, I'm not going to explain. We have a question here. How in the heck do we get the message out about this, how bad ranked choice voting is?
I mean, part of it is going to be on, well, there's a couple of different things. One, I think Michigan voters just tend to lean more independent and give more leeway when these things make the ballots.
Okay.
When you look at the passage of the Independent Redistricting Commission and Props 2 and 3, those did not squeak by. Those were not 51, 53, 55. All of those passed with well over 60% of the vote, which means significant numbers of Republicans supported all three of those proposals. Republicans buy the talking points that these organizations sell.
Okay.
So step number one is for us to make sure that Republican conservative voters understand what ranked choice voting truly is.
Okay.
Part of it is not by using, I see this all the time from a lot of Republicans, not just here in Michigan, but they'll do it across the country. They want to tell people that ranked choice voting is bad, and because I believe it's bad, you have to believe it's bad.
Yes.
And voters don't like that. They aren't going to believe something is bad just because we tell them it's bad for Republicans.
That's right.
We have to walk through what ranked choice voting is, how it works, and how it really technically disenfranchises voters on both sides of the aisle.
And I call that the whiff'em, the what's in it for me. Well, you have to, if you can't explain why it touches them or how it will touch them, you're not going to get them. So.
And I think the number one thing is truly to explain to people under a ranked choice style ballot, there's a significant chance that if you don't follow the exact directions, your ballot is going to be discarded and not counted.
Is there any group right now, or Republican group or Republican individual that is either seriously is or seriously will get together and brainstorm a messaging package on this? Because I'm hearing a lot of things, but they're not that polished messaging that just cuts you to the core and you go, whoa, I don't hear any taglines. Just like they come up with the slogans and stuff, we have to have that too.
Right.
So who's doing that? Anybody?
Yes. So there are some national organizations that worked last cycle across the country to defeat the ballot program, the ballot initiatives.
Okay.
They are paying very close attention to Michigan. In fact, I was on a call earlier today with them, and they are they are really watching what's happening in Michigan.
Okay.
There is going to be a ballot committee that is formed that will specifically be in opposition to the ranked choice voting proposal, once they go to the Board of Canvassers,
Okay.
they're going to really focus on messaging. And then one things that Republicans have been awful with is scrutinizing the submission of signatures. I mean, if you look at the process, whether it be for causes or candidates, the Democrats in the last 3 ballot cycles have spent millions of dollars challenging Republicans' signatures and scrutinizing them, either kicking people off the ballot, removing. I mean, there's a reason why Unlock 2, Protect My Vote, the school initiatives, the school proposals did not make the ballot. And that is simply because, Democrats were watching, they were prepared, they were scrutinizing signatures. Republicans have never done that before.
No.
And so this organization is really going to make sure that if they collect the signatures that they would need to qualify, that their signatures are highly scrutinized and challenged if appropriate, to try to make sure that they can be held accountable and not even make it to the ballot. So yes, more information coming on that. Was working with that group and talking to them the other day.
Okay.
And I think that's going to be a big coalition, right? I know Patrice Johnson is out there. She was talking to one of the organizations last night down in Oakland County.
Okay.
I think it was the Michigan MCC did a presentation on ranked choice voting. So a lot of people who are very knowledgeable that are going to coalesce together to make sure that this time there is a message and there's somebody pushing back on it appropriately.
All right. Well, let's put your name on that chair right there, because we're going to probably get you back here as this progresses.
Perfect.
Once they, if they get their language proposed, if an organization starts to move, whatever, let's come back. Let's get people. So, good question, Lisa. Thanks for asking it. Hold on right now. There's nothing to do because they don't have any language yet, but
correct.
Just put a place mark on that, because we're not trusting that they're not going away. So we have a little bit of time. We kind of went way over there, but that's okay. This is, I don't censor and I don't stop you. So you want to talk real quick about some Secretary of State candidates?
Well,
the importance, not candidates, sorry. The importance of, yes.
Correct. So, I mean, this is a personal pet peeve of mine, right? Let's go back to 2018 when we had all open seats.
Yes.
And I don't want to offend any of the candidates running, but I remember doing what I felt like screaming at a brick wall in 2018, saying, no matter what happened, we cannot lose the Secretary of State's race.
I know.
That position is so important, and it's becoming more and more important, as we've all seen. And we all know what happened. Not only did we lose the Secretary of State's race in 2018, we lost all the seats. And it has literally snowballed. So as we come up to 2026, all top 3 of our offices are open again. And I know that there are going to be people that come at me with comments and disagree with me, and that's fine. Everybody has opinions. My dad taught me what those are like. I'll leave that censored out so you don't have to use any bleep bleeps.
No, that's all right.
However, I believe that the Secretary of State's race is more important than the governor's seat, because the governor's seat is controlled or somewhat checked by the Michigan House and the Michigan Senate. So if Republicans can maintain control of the House, if they can get back control of the Senate, which is highly likely under the new maps, the Senate Dems barely won majority by under 1,000 votes, having maps
and
rigged in their favor.
Prop 3 helping them.
They had Prop 3. The maps have now been redrawn. They know it's a significant uphill battle to keep the majority in the Senate. The House is a different story. But as long as we can maintain one of those, the governor is somewhat in check. The Secretary of State's office, though, is so imperative, and it is so important for us to elect somebody that knows what they're doing. There's going to be 2 main candidates running on the Democrat side for Secretary of State. A go-go, which is Jocelyn Benson's current deputy, who has already announced, and then Barb Byram, who is the Ingham County clerk.
Yes.
She's probably going to announce in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, she's not one you want to take.
So
see, you think I'm the only one that thinks this way. Look.
Thanks,
already went there.
So Jeremy Moss, who's a current sitting senator from Southeast Michigan, has chaired the elections committee for a long time, was considering running, but after Haley Stevens announced for U.S. Senate, Jeremy this week announced that he is now running for that congressional seat. So he is no longer running for Secretary of State. I would believe, based on things that I've heard, I think a go-go is probably the national pick of progressive liberal donors, like the Soros people who have been behind Benson.
Yep.
I think they're going to be their pick to take over for Benson. He's extremely progressive. Anybody who has worked with Barb knows what Barb is like. She is incredibly liberal.
Yep.
Very difficult to work with, but also willing to be like Benson in manipulating the administration of elections to benefit her party for political purposes.
She's also a good campaigner. So
she's a good campaigner.
She's a good campaigner, and I don't know that I would put all my money on a go-go.
It'll be really interesting to watch.
Be a tough person to beat,
especially with her family history. I mean, her mom is Diane Byram. They've been around the Democrat Party forever. Barb's going to have a lot of union support. So their convention is going to be really interesting. And Republicans, especially, I'm going to call them newer Republicans who weren't around in 17 and 18. Dana Nessel and Jocelyn Benson were not the picks that traditional Democrats wanted to come out of their conventions. They were peeved as poop that Jocelyn Benson and Dana Nessel ended up becoming their nominees for those two positions, because that is not who was supposed to be their candidates on the general election ballot. So here we are. It'll be very interesting to see.
They had a mirrored situation that we had.
Correct.
We had. I mean, this is this is my little preach here, and we have and a stage. Here we go. We have in Livingston County the demographics look like that, and which means the Republicans are going to get elected. Let me get my stupid thing over here. And people think that this is what a swing voter Democrat looks like. And people think this is what our state is like when they call purple. It's half and half. This is not true. That's more like what it is.
100%.
There it is, right there. There's this big old independent thing. And the thing is, those independents have big purple base. They don't like far right. They don't like far left. So and so when you put up a candidate like Christina Caramo, who it could have been a good Secretary of State, doesn't matter. She was, while Jocelyn Benson was considered far left,
right?
Christina Caramo was telling the world that yoga is the work of the devil.
Right.
So that big purple base is going, eek, we're not going there. We're going over here.
Correct.
So I feel whatever we do, we cannot afford. So I feel like we all need to tackle at the knees the next Christina Caramo that decides they're going to run for Secretary of State, saying no.
So here's why it's really important. The next Secretary of State is not only having to do cleanup after Jocelyn Benson.
Oh, yes.
And there is now so under Proposal 2 that was adopted in 2020, the last ballot proposal, there is now constitutional language. I should have given you to this to put up on the screen. So there is now a constitutional right to vote. And in that language, if you pull the constitutional right to vote language, do I have a second? Can I bring it up? I mean, I could read it to people if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
All right, I'll talk while I find it.
Okay.
So there is now a constitutional right to vote, and it's a bunch of the liberal progressive, I'll give it to you later, garbly-gook that basically says that you have a right to vote for any reason, and if anybody tries to infringe on your right to vote, impede your right to vote, if you feel like they're impeding your right to vote using any law, rule, regulation, or change, this language essentially was put in by the drafters because they know that one day Republicans are going to take back over, right? We're either going to control the legislature, we're going to control the Secretary of State's office. And now all it takes is one person out of Michigan's 10 million voters to say, I feel like my right to vote is being impeded or being trampled on, to file a lawsuit in the courts of Michigan. And let's just be very blunt. Republicans for years now have neglected our Supreme Court and our nonpartisan judicial races. Democrats now have a significant majority on our state Supreme Court. And so now it literally says any rule, law, regulation, anything, which means if the legislature goes to change election laws, all it takes is one person filing a lawsuit in court to challenge the constitutionality of that under their protected right to vote. Or if the next Secretary of State goes to change a rule or a manual, and the ACLU can find one person in Michigan that says that impedes my right to vote, I feel like that impedes my right to vote, they now have a lawsuit. Benson has done a great job where almost every single respected person in the Bureau of Elections has retired and has been replaced by a progressive activist. These are not people that the next Secretary of State is going to be able to go in and fire, because they are unionized civil servants. They have civil servant protections. They're state unionized employees. So there's a lot of work to be done in this office. Furthermore, the next Secretary of State, in the first part of the first term, the first 4 years, the back end.
Sorry, Lisa, stop it.
They are, Lisa, you're spot on. Like, don't think I haven't thought of it. You're saying out loud what some of us have.
Sorry,
That absolutely.
popped up.
Unfortunately, the current makeup of the court probably wouldn't agree with you, which goes back to my next pet peeve, which is we have to make sure we're paying more.
Yeah. Okay, that's a different conversation.
Correct.
Let me ask you this though: how will Brian Posthumous's ballot proposal, will that mess with it? Because that puts some. If that passes, that also goes in the Constitution.
So let me finish my one thought
first.
first.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry.
On the first term, the first 4 years of the first term of the next Secretary of State, they will start the actual next redistricting process.
Okay.
So they will be in charge of the selection of how the process is going to work for the independent commissioners on the commission. They're going to be helping with staff, RFPs on vendors, and all of that was manipulated by Jocelyn Benson and her staff last time. And then in the last 4 years, if they get reelected and serve 8 years, they would manage the redistricting process. If a Democrat is allowed to control and manipulate the next redistricting process in Michigan on top of our ballot proposals, the path for Republicans becomes significantly harder for us, because they're going to continue to do what they've done in Illinois and other states, which is spoke the Democrat votes out into the rural areas of Michigan until we simply, because they don't want to win races by 90%. They want to win every seat by 50% plus one. And so it is so important that we elect a Secretary of State that can beat a go-go or Byram at the box, that can be articulate, that knows elections and personally. I think we need somebody who is experienced with election administration that can walk in on day one and they know what they're looking for.
Your first choice would be who?
Oh, my mother.
Oh, okay. Who has said no? So let's try again.
I know, but that would definitely be my first choice.
Oh no, there's nobody in Livingston County would argue with that.
So I'm still gonna keep her out there. Sorry, Mom, love you.
I know. So what? So then, what? I guess let's. Who's your first choice that hasn't already told you no?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
I've been on Representative Boland for 7 years now to consider this. I don't know if she would consider it now after just being named chair of her pro.
I mean, you have Representative, Boland, you have Representative Schmidt, you have Representative DeBoyer. All of them are former township clerks. All of them have some election administrative experience.
Yeah, looking back at our little chart here, that are they electable? I don't know how electable they are.
I think all three of them would be electable on a general election ballot.
Okay. All right. But so let me ask you one last question. Then we're looking at, we should have scheduled you for 2 hours. So, and next time we will. So Secretary of State what are your thoughts about Secretary of State by convention versus by true primary?
Oh, now you're asking me to step into the trap.
I'll step there first. I hate the convention. I hate it.
I absolutely think for the benefit of our party moving forward, it's imperative that we remove nominating selections from the convention.
Oh, amen.
The delegates that go to convention are the most politically active and knowledgeable people involved in the political process. You are delegates that go to state convention to nominate not only party leadership, but candidates are 1,000,000 times more tuned in.
Oh, you think they should stay in the convention?
No.
Okay,
all
right. All right, go ahead.
You are 1,000,000 times more tuned in to politics and interested in politics than the everyday voter. And as a result, your ability to think of who is electable on a general election ballot in Michigan is completely skewed.
I'm glad you
I
said that.
have
I've been
to
saying, thank you for anybody hear this? This is what I've been saying for
Correct.
years.
I
I'm
have
back
to
up now. All
remind
right, here we
people all
go.
the time that tell me voters should care about this. I'm like, voters care about paying their bills, putting food on their table, getting kids to their sports. That's what they care about. They tune in on average 24 to 48 hours before they walk in the ballot and are going to check the box. So
Okay.
convention delegates simply have just lost touch with who is considered an electable candidate in November. And I think putting those on the ballot where you get a much wider berth of people voting will give us a better nominee to run in November.
Agreed. Okay. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
100%.
Lisa, explain to me why it is you hate to admit that we're right. Just go ahead. Explain to me why that's a bad thing. Anyway, so all right. Well, Meghan, like I said, we scheduled you for too short of a time. We've got two next guests sitting in the room
appreciate
already.
it.
I appreciate you coming. Seriously, we're going to have you back because I want to follow this ranked choice voting, and
anytime.
Please reach out to the to us anytime you see something coming that you'd like to report on or update us on. So okay.
Perfect.
Well, thanks again.
No, thank you.
We'll be right back.
Hey, what do you say? This whole town could be red by the end of the day. If you feel alright, we can throw it and drive.
Ready to make your real estate dreams a reality? Meet Lisa R., your trusted expert in Livingston County. With 25 years in the real estate marketplace, she offers a seamless, stress-free experience. As a Real Estate One agent, Lisa has access to a network of over 2,000 agents and a one-stop shop for mortgage, title, and insurance services. Call Lisa R. at 734-260-7277 or visit her at Real Estate One in Brighton. Let her help you find your dream home or sell your property with confidence.
And we're back. That was a great conversation, wasn't that, with Meghan? I can't wait to get her back and get some more discussions. But we have a terrific new guest now with Jessica Barefield from our party. Everybody knows Jessica, and Jessica is here to talk about our Lincoln Day dinner. Tell us what we're up to. Tell us where we are. Tell us what we can look forward to.
So our balloon number was due yesterday. We can still take on some, scraggler add-on tickets the next couple of days. So if you
Oh.
have not grabbed your ticket yet and you're regretting thinking that the ticket sales closed, we do have a little tiny bit of wiggle room to add you on. So you can grab those last minute tickets for another 48 hours. Those of you that have attended a Lincoln Day dinner in Livingston County, you know that oftentimes it's next to none. We host amazing events here in Livingston County. They're always, over the top. They're fun, usually well organized, and just a great night out. I know that sometimes people get hung up on the ticket price, but you're not paying for a night out for dinner. You're paying for candidates. So,
That's right.
that every dollar that you give, while you are going to get a yummy taco meal and desserts and sodas and what have you, you're helping fund our candidates locally here in Livingston County. And, that can be anywhere from door knockers to, if we do billboards, to
Mailings.
newspaper ads.
Yep.
And we need to gear up now. 2026 is going to be here before you know it. And every dollar, every penny counts towards keeping our county red. We're a red county. We want to stay a red county, and we need your support to do that. The speakers this year are Ryan Kelly, our very own favorite J6er here from Michigan. He's going to talk about his experience in litigation and what that all looks like. I don't know if you've heard his story. I've heard it. It's pretty fascinating. It's makes me a little angry. And Ryan always brings that big passion, and when you hear him speak, it just like sets your soul
I'm
on
looking
fire.
forward to it. I've not heard him speak yet. So.
Yeah, he's an awesome speaker. And then our keynote speaker is Coach Joe Kennedy. So for those of you that don't know, you may have heard about the movie recently that was released. It's called The Average Joe. It was a movie based on him. It's a fantastic movie. I would urge you all to watch that as well. A great family movie. But basically, Coach Kennedy was a high school football coach who was fired for praying on the football field at school games. And he took his school district to court. He lost at the state courts, his local courts. He kept escalating, lost at his state Supreme Court, escalated further, appealed all the way up to the U.S. Supreme Court, and he won. So that's a phenomenal story. It's a great testimony to somebody that just standing up for our rights and our freedoms, and proof is in the pudding. He won. And so he's going to be here talking all about that. He has a book he wrote about it as well. And I feel like in today's society, Deb, I feel like religion and Christianity is becoming popular again. I feel like there's
I don't know if popular is the word. The word I want to use is allowed. It's allowed.
Exactly.
It's like when Trump got elected, he had told everybody, all right, you want to believe in God, it's okay. And we're not being condemned for it anymore. So
no, and it's not like this taboo topic anymore.
Agreed.
I mean, you're even seeing it in mainstream TV shows and media. And I just said this to my kids last night. We were watching a very popular singing show. I'm not going to say what it is, but every episode I feel like we turn into a multitude of these people are singing, Christian songs. They're uplifting, they're praying to God. And it is just really, really, really nice to see.
It is.
And so I feel like Joe is the perfect candidate for this moment in time in history to come listen to. And we would, hope that if you haven't grabbed your tickets yet, please do. We have a little bit of room.
And if they have grabbed their tickets and they've grabbed regular tickets and they want to upgrade to VIP means they get to go in with Average Joe. I don't know if you've got a link to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw you under the bus. ADMIN at Livingston with an S.com. If you've got a ticket, but you think, I'd like to upgrade a few more bucks, I get to go meet Joe. I get to meet Ryan in the other room. Also, we're going to have some statewide candidates in that room too that you might want to meet. So it's going to be it's worth the upgrade. So reach out to Jessica by email and ask her, for the link to do that, and she'll tell you exactly what you need to do. Put something on copy and paste tonight, because I'm hoping tomorrow you're going to be sending that out a lot. So upgrade to VIP. You get to go into a smaller room and shake hands with them, get a picture taken. And, if there's a book in there, you can buy a book. I don't know what they're going to have in there for that sort of thing, but I can't wait to hear both these men. It's going to be fantastic. And I think that they're not the headline that Vivek was, but I think their story is probably going to be a little more personal, and that's what I prefer that anyway. I prefer more of a one-on-one. So that's going to be a terrific thing. Also, we've got some great awards that we're going to be giving out. I think people that know me know that I believe in recognizing people for work. So we're going to be doing some of that, from certificates of appreciation to all the way to Republican of the Year. That's the big one that we give out every year. So we're looking forward to that. We got some great people that have worked hard that are going to get some well-deserved recognition. I'm looking forward to that. So, all right, Stacy, we appreciate that. You're going to show up. You're going to show up in this kind of place. Yeah, you're going to sit with the commissioner. So, get yourself a suit. So anyway, anything else you want to tell us? I know we had closed tickets, I think, but we're gonna give you a couple sneak more days. Mention podcasts, and we're gonna allow you in. So reach out to. Oh yes, Lisa. Gosh, you're like my wingman
How
today.
did we forget about that?
I know we forgot about that.
Yeah.
The silent auction. We got some great baskets coming into this thing. Mary Beth Petraikas has just dug right into this, and she's got some great helpers. So we've got some really interesting baskets that you get to bid on, and we've been kicking and screaming into the current century, and we have decided to get a Square so we can take your credit cards now. We have Venmo, so no more waiting in a 10-hour line to get your basket paid for. We'll get you right through. So we got all that stuff now. So what else is going on over there?
So for those that have been in the past, some haven't, that are probably tuning in, but we always have Abe Lincoln himself is there.
That's right.
So he's always fun to get a photo op with Abe.
Okay.
Good old Abe. And as far as the silent auction, I want a couple of teasers.
Go ahead.
Okay, so there is going to be a tour at the Capitol, a private tour at the Capitol that people will be able to bid on. Sheriff Murphy donated a pick your child up or your grandchild up for breakfast, and then they get dropped off at school. My kids used to love those things when they were little. I would bid big money on those at auctions. And right now I'm currently trying to work on a couple of sports memorabilia things.
Okay.
I don't have them quite in hand, but framed Hutchinson jersey. And so there's gonna be some cool items for the silent auction.
All right, well, good. Then that's all the more reason. We also have into the VIP room, we have Mike Rogers will be there.
Yep.
We have Mike Cox will be there, I believe. Is John James coming, or is he just sending a video?
I believe he is sending the video at the moment. He's not sure he can make it back.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, and the other thing is we've got our booklet that anybody that wants to advertise into the booklet, I think it's $500 for a full page, and if you buy the full page, you also get the digital that runs all night long on the screen. And it's what was it? $275 or what was it for half page?
I think it's $275. I think it's $150 for a quarter page.
$150 for a quarter. Yeah.
I'm
So,
positive.
and it's just just so if you need to do that, again, you can send a chair, at livingstonrepublicans.com or admin. If you want to advertise, that's an inexpensive advertisement. If you want to get into the booklet, and that people take with them. So if you're a candidate or if you're just want to support the party, we got a wonderful. I want to let me get their names. This is important. It is Lauer is their last name. Hey, Jim.
Virginia.
Randy and Virginia Lauer. Thank you. They just gave us a random donation. Jim, our treasurer, wrote me and said, "Is this for the podcast? What is this for?" So I wrote them and I said, "Well, we appreciate it. Is there something?" "No, you keep doing what you're doing. You guys are doing a good job. We just wanted to help." Thank you. I know. Because, Jessica just gave you a whole lot of different ways that are a whole lot of different reasons, I should say, that, things that we do with your money. So there's the famous little ticker that I point to all the time. Go to that and join. That the money from your join, whether you have time to knock doors, you don't have time to knock doors, it's just fine. Just join. get the highest level you can. You'll get tickets with it oftentimes. So join with us. And, like I said, Jessica just gave you a whole lot of things we do. We don't take vacations on this money. I'm a volunteer as much. I don't make money on this podcast. I don't make money being chair. It's all volunteer, and I don't intend to take money. So when that check comes in, it mostly goes to candidates, and we have, overhead and things, but mostly it goes to candidates. So appreciate anybody that can help us. So anyway, Jessica, any final thoughts on that dinner?
I'm just excited to see you all there. This is my favorite event every year.
It is.
I love the Lincoln Day dinner.
It's a great.
Why I'm crazy and I keep helping plan it every year.
Well, all right. Well, okay. Well, we're gonna head over to commercial. Tyler, take us to a commercial, will you? Thanks a lot, Jessica, for stopping in and telling us about that. So we'll be right back. We'll be right back with
Ready to make your Ready to make your real estate dreams a reality? Meet Lisa R., your trusted expert in Livingston County. With 25 years in the real estate marketplace, she offers a seamless, stress-free experience. As a Real Estate One agent, Lisa has access to a network of over 2,000 agents and a one-stop shop for mortgage, title, and insurance services. Call Lisa R. at 734-260-7277 or visit her at Real Estate One in Brighton. Let her help you find your dream home or sell your property with confidence.
Hello and welcome back. Tonight, as I started to say, I was this way and we cut off. So I have with me everybody's favorite commissioner chair. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. I just want to make sure we've been having some trouble with getting some people's comments aren't showing up. So if we don't, I recognize everybody's comments. Give me a minute. I don't run in right in there, but give me a minute. But if I haven't recognized your comment, put it on the screen like I did this one. Please exit and sign back up through a different method, either through YouTube directly or through the LCRP Facebook page. I got my phone here and I'm kind of watching the text to see if anybody texts me that they're having trouble, but I will be checking. So anyway, we're here. And first of all, so Chris, let me recognize your comment. I see you, and then you don't have to exit and come back. And we're doing great tonight. We've had some great conversations so far with Meghan and with Jessica Barefield. And now we've got, as I said, everybody's favorite Livingston County Commission chair here, my husband, Jay Drick. And I brought Jay on because today, the entire purpose of this podcast has been justified. As you know, as I've said many times, the reason we have created the right side is because we have had such trouble getting the Republican side of things. I can tell you that the I've watched enough commission meetings. That's the word, meetings. Yes, enough commission meetings that I've seen it where the something happens and then the Democrats complain about it, and it's never right. And so, but the commission doesn't get a chance till later to like correct it. And by the time they do, that's what the newspaper, or that's the newspaper that will print. That's what the newspaper will print. So if so the whole purpose, and I'm stammering all over the place. I don't know why my head is not I don't know why where my head is right now. The problem is the Republicans don't get the side out. Okay. They don't get their side out ever. And so I created this podcast in order to give that side out. So as an example, we know Judy Daubenmire create a complaint, campaign finance violation. She did a complaint. I am stammering all over the place. Judy Daubenmire is the chair of the Democrat Party. She filed a complaint with the campaign finance or campaign violation that because Jay made a comment from the podium about his opponent in the race. And she filed a complaint saying that he wasn't allowed to do that. Moreover, the complaint alleged that Jay, as an attorney, should have known better. And he didn't. I mean, he did, but she made it sound one way, and he did know better. He knew what the statute was. She didn't. So here's the deal. I'm going to let Jay tell you. I'm going to let Jay tell you what happened to him, and then what happened today. Go ahead. Tell us about that complaint.
The complaint was filed in a timely manner in July of 24, and it complained about 2 calls to the public: a 3-minute call to the public at the beginning of the meeting and a 2-minute call to the public at the end of the meeting. The man assigned to come up with an opinion as to maybe a violation found on the first 3-minute complaint no violation. Perfectly acceptable to use county and public resources to explain public policy. Her complaint was, oh, you were using public resources, using the podium and the tape and everything else to campaign. And the campaign finance law has exemptions in it, one of which is if a elected who's in charge of policy wants to talk about policy. And so a big part of her complaint got absolutely trashed, thrown away in May. But there was a second paragraph in that May letter that said, but your 2-minute complaint at the end of the night may have been a problem. So we filed more evidence with the Secretary of State, and it turned out that a letter came through just last week that said there may have been a violation on the 2-minute one, but you've paid $2.56 to pay back the county for those 2 minutes. So we're concluding it's over, it's done, it's resolved, nothing more can happen.
All right, I want to back up because we skipped a step there. At some point, what happened was Jay realized, I mean, because there was exceptions. Typically, you just can't spew campaign stuff from a elected official. That's typically true. But there are certain times when it's an exception. And one of those exceptions is, and Jay knew this, being a lawyer, that's frustrated me when he should have known better. He did. Jay knew that there is an allowance if equal opportunity is given to other people to campaign up there. Well, and of course I don't have it. I'm gonna send you the evidence of that here real quick. But I'm gonna put it up here in a minute. But Jay did know that, and there was equal stuff. So when the attorney said, look, we can continue to fight this and we'll win, or for $2.56, you can just pay it. There's no admission of guilt. There's no record. There's no guilty anything. There's no violation. You just repay it and it's over. And so what he got when they said he got this violation, what he got was a official warning. His official warning was that he might have done something wrong, which by default means he might not have. And what frustrated Jay, what's frustrated me, and the reason for this podcast is that the paper reported it like the media reported it as though it was absolute. He got violated. So let me throw this one up here. That's the Livingston County Press. Look at what's the headline say? Read the headline, Jay.
Drick violated campaign finance law when criticizing opponent from the dais.
It did, and here's the thing, he didn't, not at all. So
the two letters that I got from the Secretary of State have nothing in them saying they found a violation. They always said an alleged violation or may have reason to believe a violation or may have violated. They never ever came out and said the word violated.
Go to my email.
None. And in the law, the 2-minute defense that we had prepared was
No,
50,
not that one.
59 instances
Click.
of actual equal opportunity being given to all candidates, all committees.
Outlook up there.
For months and months and months. So we had an avalanche of evidence that should have fit into the exception.
Okay, we're going to bring up a picture here. Go ahead. Download. Yes. Okay, we're open file, top one. Open file. Just hang on a second and we'll get this up here. So you're going to right click it, save as up top, put it into right there. That's good. Podcast pick, save. Okay. And I don't know why I'm having you do that. I could do that. Okay. So now we're back on the studio here. Now, see, so then here we have, WHMI.
No, Livingston Post.
No, we have WHMI. I missed. Right here, the complaint was filed. Drick has reimbursed the county and received a formal warning for his actions. No, he did not. Dobbelmeyer alleged that Drick and the county commission, where is it? Oh, I don't have the right statement. She basically just said that this is, she's glad that, or right here on the top, elections ruled that Livingston County Board Chair Jay Drick violated campaign law. No. Right here, Livingston Post. This was Judy Dobbelmeyer's comment. Now, when I first read it, I didn't read it right. In the Livingston Post defense, the accuracy, it did state at the top that he settled it, which is what happened. So at least the Livingston Post did not report it incorrectly. But, here's Judy Dobbelmeyer talking about the state did find a reason to believe that Jay, who should have known better, violated the law, and that will always be on his record. No, it will not.
No.
There was no admission of guilt. There was a $2.56. I mean, Jay, let me ask you this. You have been an attorney for many, many years. I know this. And as an attorney, you've represented people who were right, correct?
Correct.
All right. So even though they're right, and even though you were sure you were going to win whatever suit in court at some point, and somebody offered them an opportunity to pay $2.56 and end the whole thing, would it be like highly unethical of you to not recommend they do this?
You would recommend it as an attorney, and in my case, looking at the state of Michigan with millions of dollars ready to keep going if I didn't pay some pennies, I don't need billions and millions of dollars fighting me when I can walk away with no finding of guilt, no finding of violation, no finding of anything wrong.
Right. So it's just a matter of, look, we can just repay the point that is in question. That's the killer there. It isn't guilty. You're not guilty. It is in question. We haven't decided if it is. It might be wrong. It might not be wrong.
Correct.
And they had it. Here's the thing. I've got it right here somewhere. Right here. I have to go here. So let me go in here and let me pull this up. No, I go here. Let me pull this off so I can make room. Remove from studio, and now I have to add this. I'm going to show you something. This is, remember I said, as long as they gave balance,
Equal opportunity.
equal opportunity to somebody else. Look at the picture we have here. Ready? That's a picture I took from my seat. Now you'll notice who's sitting on the dais there. That's Jay with Commissioner Sample next to him. And in that chair is Steve Williams. And it says elect Williams on the back. Heather Williams. Well, it says elect Williams, I think it says.
No, it says Heather.
Okay. So, but what that is, that's Steve Williams' wife, who was Jay's opponent. So there's your absolute proof that there was equal opportunity given.
I only needed to prove one equal opportunity.
How many did you prove?
I had 59.
59. So there was no way Jay was going to lose this case. However, it's just foolish to continue going on and fighting. And Jay knows the games they play in court. You dismiss, you bring it back, you dismiss. When $2.56 ends it without a record, without admission of guilt, it just, look it. If there's a question, just pay the money and go away. All right, we'll do that. Boom.
And this is a complete bar. Nobody can go to civil court. Nobody can file another complaint.
Nope.
This is complete, forever, done.
Right. But what frustrates me, and all this brings to this particular head. And the particular head is this. Did you see, I don't know, I think most of you read that article, but did anybody see in those articles, in any of the articles, did anybody see the line, Drick was unavailable for comment? Drick did not comment. You want to know why Drick did? What should have said was, Drick was never asked for comment.
Correct.
So they did all that. They wrote he was wrong. They wrote he was guilty. They wrote he was that he violated the Campaign Finance Act. They put that in their stinking headline. And you know what? He didn't. And nor did he did they ever ask him. Not one of those sources called him and said, you want to comment on that? And I'll tell you, even if they couldn't reach me, every single one of those sources, or I'm sorry, couldn't reach Jay, every single one of those sources, when they need a comment from Jay, they reach out to me. If they can't reach out to Jay, Jay's a little bit slower as far as responding to email, etc. But I will tell you this, I'm lightning fast. So I can't tell you how many times WHMI or Maria Stewart or even, the Livingston County Press has reached me and said, hey, we're looking for Jay. We want to comment on this. Can you get him? Okay. It hasn't happened recently, but Maria Stewart does that for everybody in the thing. So nobody reached out to Jay for his comment on this, and he could have straightened this out. Dale Konya wants to know if it's Russian interference. Okay, maybe not, but that's a good laugh. Thanks a lot.
I like it.
So, okay, Mr. Parker, the correct answer is filing a suit enforcing retraction, embarrassing the online media, not complaining it on a podcast for 35 minutes. No, that is not. You can't file a suit and force a retraction. We're not looking for a retraction. It's foolish. That's even a bigger waste of time than fighting over something that could be solved with 256. No, the reason this podcast exists is because that stuff happens. I have made it a mission for many years to tell people that the media plays a game called "Let's Not Finish the Sentence." And I have encouraged people over and over and over, when they say that the legislator's doing this, read the bill. When they say that this is going to happen, but the governor's doing this, read the bill, because they don't report everything. They report a snippet that makes it look like something else. So that's why this podcast exists. It gives Republicans such as Jay, and we've had Wes on here, we've had Glenn Gogolewski, we've had Nick Fiani, we've had Frank Sample, all telling the other side of things. When the media says one thing, what's really happening? That's what this podcast is about. So I was happy to bring Jay here. I was happy to bring Jay here and allow him to explain what really happened and what the real situation was. So to have those three things, and they never contacted him. So, and this is what kills me. It kills me that when I worked for the newspaper, when I worked for the Livingston County Press about 150 years ago, if I would have written an article and not gotten the perspective of the person, it was drilled into my head. You got to print both sides. Never put your thumb on a scale. Print both sides. Let the people decide, no matter what you think. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. And I did it that way, and I still do it that way. But I love it. Finally, the real news. Yes, that's exactly what we're doing here, is giving you the real news. All right, Richard, it's not solved and they won because they tarnished him online and got away with it. I don't think so. I think that
nobody believes that paying $2.56 is some kind of
punishment,
big deal. In fact, I compare it a little bit sometimes to finding lint in my pocket.
It's pretty small.
It's such a small thing, and it was an informal conciliation.
That's right.
Agreement.
It wasn't like he was charged. He was never charged. It was nothing like that. It was like anyway, there was no guilt. There was nothing like that. So I don't think interestingly enough, I did read the comments under that, and most of them said something along the lines of, boy, somebody needs something to do. Mm-hmm. Yes, it does. So, okay. All right. So anyway, this just justifies why we exist. This tells you why we exist. I have to tell you, I have to once again thank our major sponsor, Jason Huntley, who saw the reason for this and early on sat me down and said, what do you need to get this done? I really like this idea, and I'm glad that you're doing it. So I appreciate his support, in Premier Financial in Brighton. Mm-hmm. So, our numbers are going up. They're going up. We started off, I would have been happy with 100 views inside of a couple weeks. And 2 weeks ago tonight, that video is over 5,000 right now views. So we are growing. We're doing well. Our commercials, you see new commercials every week because people see that we're doing well. So we're doing good work here. But I'm happy to offer Jay the opportunity to explain this. Actually, I didn't offer it to him. I kind of said, you for those of you who know me, you would understand. It was more like, you're going to be on the show tonight and you're going to explain this. This is horrible. So anyway, and he was okay. So this is why we're here. Every time we get to explain something, every time we get to show, every time we get to show what the real story is, what the real truth is, uncensored and unedited. You notice we don't cut things and say, oh no, go take that out. We don't break. We say what we got to say and we do it. Yeah. See, and this is, Richard, I think this is how it is here. Most people had a bunch of laughs. Jay got all kinds of texts saying, hey, do you need a loan to pay that fine? So it's a silly
fine.
No. Well, yeah, that's right. It wasn't a fine.
It wasn't a fine.
No, a repayment, a conciliation amount, whatever it was. But I think the term is jump change. lint in the pocket. I mean, you could probably find that much in this thing out underneath your sofa cushions. So anyway, it is not anything that was reported, and shame on everybody for not reaching out to Jay and getting a second look at that, or getting his perspective, or finding out what really happened. I just remember how I felt when I first went to work for the paper, and I was told, always, always, always get your side, that there's a page for opinions. It's called the op-ed page in the back. Remember, you'd have the opinions of, we would all rotate writing an opinion about something. That was a place for opinions. But on the news section, we were told, you don't do that. You get both sides, and you let people decide. And I just remember thinking that was just the way to do it. It was just full of integrity. And I just told myself that's what I was going to do. Now, here at the right side, I am a Republican news person, so I don't go get the Democrat side on things. I more or less respond to their side. So we print the Republican side usually in response to something that happened to the Democrats. So anyway, so here's the nice thing. He doesn't have to, there's no more filing of briefs, digging through paperwork to prove he didn't do this, or to prove he got, newspapers. It's $2.56. Oh my gosh. I would have paid a lot more than that to be done with it. Now we just join our summer. And yes, thank you, Lisa. Lisa thanks us for what we do. The truth will set you free. Correct. And that's what this is about. It's about the truth. It's about getting that side out that the media does not show. So frustrating, but at the same time, it's very frustrating that Democrats are pushing boys into girls' or bathrooms and boys into girls' sports. But at the same time, there's a gift in every problem. There's a silver lining, and you just got to look for it. And the gift in that problem is all those female sports people and all their parents suddenly became Republicans overnight. So there is a gift there. There is a gift. So anyway, so let's see, we got Leonard Parker again. 3 news outlets, let me say, not one right-wing friendly. Why? Is there an interest in starting one with the resources of the party? Leonard, that is a great question. That's this. It's not a newspaper. You're right. Is there an interest with resources? The party doesn't have to start a newspaper, that's a lot of money, a ton of money, and a ton of people and everything else. If somebody wanted to do it, I would certainly help, or I would jump in, or whatever. But you're right. Not one of them is right-wing friendly. So that's why this podcast was started, because it's called The Right Side for a reason. It gives the side that isn't ever shown. I just remember those. I remember one woman that she goes to every single Republican thing I see her everywhere, and she speaks in half sentences, and she starts one sentence, goes 2/3 in, then jumps to another, and then ends that at 2/3 in, and I have no idea what she said by the time she's through. But it is she would constantly make complaints and statements that weren't true, and yet I'd see them in the newspaper the next day. Local constituents upset that the commissioners did this. They didn't. And anyway, well, she's not old, but she doesn't have a newspaper. She has an online blog. That's different. An online blog is way different than a newspaper. So yes, and I understand what you meant. But the online blog is not a newspaper. So it is a blog. And could we do that? I think this is kind of starting it, a podcast. Leonard, it's a good question. It's something I've been considering, whether or not we have the resources to start kind of writing one. It's a big commitment. It might be worth it. It might be worth it. I just took over as chair of the party, and I just took over as chair of the party in January. I think, in my first 5 months, we've kind of kicked some butt here. And I'm not done, but that's not something I have the bandwidth to do right now, but I am thinking about it. So do not be surprised if by the end of the year I don't start something, because I feel like it needs to be done, but I need a team. So anybody out there listening, if you're a writer, you like to write, you're a good writer, let me know. We might just put you on the online blog. It could be the Right Side blog, and maybe we can post these. It's not a bad idea, Leonard. I might name you. I might name you King of the Night here. That was a good idea. Now you got me going. Thanks. Now it's going to probably happen. All right. So an email newsletter is a good start. I do those. Dale, do you get them? Do you get them? I do them. What is this, Lisa? All right. I know better. So I'll be coming for you. I'm going to sick Joni on you. Joni, are you listening? We're going to sick you on some people. I need some writers. Yes. Okay, you do get it. So I do email newsletters every so often. So it is that. But I kind of think that an online blog might be the thing. We're sure getting we're getting great commercials and great supporters on this. I don't know why that wouldn't be along with it. So yeah, we have to think about that, because that's a cost, and I'd have to get it sponsored, but you know what? It's going. I'm listening. Joni's coming for you, Lisa. Be ready. So anybody else that can write, Ron Gillard, are you still there? I know you can write. I have seen your writing, so that might be something I might see you want you to I might want you contributing on this as well. So Lisa's drinking more coffee than I do all day. She's rocking. All right, there you go, Stacy. She's rocking it. So all right, well, this has been a fantastic episode. I really should have carved out more time for Meghan. I felt like I cut off some real good conversation that we could have had, but I also feel like it's probably, to put a stop point on it, that was probably bad, because I feel like she and I could have just kept going. When she told me that she believed, as I do, Secretary of State should be pulled out of the convention, we could have gone on for a long while, but we're going to bring her back, and we're going to have some more good conversation with her. Jessica was, we're going to get her in a after the Lincoln day to kind of see what's going on. She needs to come in and she needs to tell us what's going on in the state. Next week, woohoo, we have Senator Runstead, the chair of the Michigan Republican Party, coming. I did have Brian Posthumous coming on the 27th. That got bumped a week to the 3rd. So thank you, Stacy. We appreciate your comment there. I'm trying to bring it up. I can't. There we go. I keep missing it. So we've got some good stuff coming. I've got absolute promises from Mike Rogers, John James, Mike Cox, and Eric Nesbitt that they will be on this show. Oh, and Anthony Hudson, who will also be on the show. They've all agreed as candidates to come on and tell you about themselves. And I kind of decided on these statewide candidates. I think it should be a package deal. So what I told them is, they come on the podcast, they introduce themselves to everybody, let people ask them some questions, and then within somewhere between 30 and 90 days, we will have a meet and greet for them here at the Victory Center. It'll be great opportunity. You've met them online, now you get to come meet them in person. Maybe your interest was peaked online, and now you want to come and talk to them a little bit more, listen to them speak. I feel like it'll just win everybody. It just gives everybody that gets another opportunity to learn about candidates. It's a great one. But I will tell you.
I have last thing to say.
Oh, go ahead.
No fair-minded person is going to recall this $2.56 episode for more than a week or so. Mm-hmm. But every taxpayer in the county will recall for a long time that the year 2024, my first year as chair, the commission saved taxpayers a whopping $3,244,000 that we could have spent, but we made sure we didn't. We saved that amount of money.
And as Commissioner Fiani told us on his visit, you guys also recently put a EMS building in the north and the south end of the county in Cohocton and Putnam. And they didn't bond for it, nor did they have to raise taxes to do it. They had the cash because they saved that money. They didn't pay for dumb stuff, so they were able to save it, and they were able to put that in. So our commissioners are doing a great job. As I said, here was your proof that Jay had every right to say what he said, because there was equal opportunity given. That, I believe, that was taken. I know the picture was taken by me. I was sitting in the seat, and I took that picture thinking, Lord, I mean, he's campaigning up there. And so for Jay to say what he said, he basically just said he had some complaints about the wife as a candidate. And then at the end, he said, it's all the more reason to pick Drick. So I think it was the pick Drick that they took umbrage with, but whatever it was, it's over.
Perfectly legal.
Yep. $2. Yep. There, you got the evidence right there. It was absolutely,
That was equal
valid.
opportunity.
Equal opportunity.
And that's legal under the law.
Yep. So anybody out there that's complaining Jay should have known better, just so you know, Jay did know.
I knew.
He knew. So he operated within his rights. And Judy Daubenmire is a woman that is going to just throw mud at the wall and hope something sticks. So we're just going to be little Republican windshield wipers and wipe the mud off and keep going. We don't lose momentum. So having said that, we've had a great podcast tonight. We've had great speakers. Thanks for joining us. A lot of participation. I appreciate that. And share our podcast. And listen, if you haven't yet, please, I don't know, somewhere on your page, whatever you're watching on, it will say subscribe. I don't know where it says it on here. Tyler, you see it? We want to thank Tyler Hammock over here. He's my nope, that's not it. Okay. Oops.
Somewhere.
Now we lost
Subscribe
everybody.
and share.
Subscribe and share. Yeah. So we're looking for, you go to the YouTube, if you're at the YouTube, somewhere there. If you haven't, go to the YouTube at the right, it's at the right side Livingston. Hit subscribe there. It doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't do anything for you, but it allows us to monetize this. At some point we'll get enough followers that we're just going to monetize it, and then the money will flow in and it'll help pay for our podcast. So anyway, thanks a lot for coming and joining us. Thanks, Tyler, as always. Tyler's our right hand over here. He's over in a corner and he's never on camera, but he's running our commercials, and he's doing what he needs to do. So he helps me a great deal. Having another set of hands here helps me a great deal. So
thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Debbie.
Yes, thank you, and have a good night, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday with Chairman Runstead.
Good night.
Good night.